Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our Chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are using the Johnson edition, and we turn out of poem 493, The World Stands Solemner to Me. Solemner gets used only one time in all our poetry, and it's here, although it will remind us of 483, a solemn thing within the soul. And I can't help but think about the world starting this set of lines with Wordsworth's famous classic, "The world is too much with us, laden, soon getting and spending. We lay waste our powers, little we see in nature that is ours." Now, this is a fascinating poem for a number of reasons, not least of which, here Emily will play around with four abstract poems as being somehow central to another marriage poem. You'll remember back in poem 230, I Never Wed, and it will have a number of poems where Emily will reference getting married, and in this poem we'll do the same. Now, are we speaking specifically about marriage, or are we rather speaking about union, some kind of union? Maybe this is a poem about commitment, maybe it's a poem about transformation. Again, the four abstract nouns that we will see will play the game for us as we go through this. So, for example, I'll just help you out to help you outline this. We're going to have modesty, doubt, prayer, and gratitude. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily is our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've worked through our set of introductory comments. I'm really hopeful that you've worked through our preceding 492 poems. We just finished with 492, Civilization Spurns the Leopard. And if you have, then you can place a poem like this within that context, and we're certainly going to come back to this poem later in our studies, no doubt. She says it this way: "The world stands solemner to me since I was wed to him. A modesty befits the soul that bears another's name. A doubt, if it be fair, indeed, to wear that perfect pearl the man upon the woman binds to clasp her soul for all. A prayer that it more angel prove, a whiter gift within to that munificence that chose so unadorned a queen. A gratitude that such be true, it had esteemed the dream too beautiful for shape to prove, or posture to redeem." Let's point out the exclamation point here to end this poem. It's almost triumphant the way this poem will end. Reading this poem is interesting because of the nature of all the dashes and the fact that she begins right away with almost a solemn kind of tone with "the world stands solemner to me." Now, the challenge is that many times in Emily's poetry, she uses this first person pronoun, but it isn't always clear she's talking specifically about herself, or if she is, she's playing a game of symbolism here. I think that's what's going on. She'll say, "Since I got married, since I was wed to him." By the way, it's interesting the way she'll say that. She'll say it, "I was wed to him." Who is the him? Notice capitalized. Are we talking about a man? Are we talking about a god? Are we talking about the muse? I think that's possibly a reading of this as well. But once the decision is made, the transformation is made, then things change. The world doesn't look the same anymore. Notice, a modesty now befits the soul that bears another's name. In other words, I'm now married, so there's other things I can't do. Think about the power of Emily, who withdraws from society to produce these amazing works of art. And maybe in this moment she's telling us, once I made that decision, i.e. I wed, then it was over, and I had to think differently about modesty. Notice a doubt, if it be fair indeed, to wear that perfect pearl. The sounds of this poem are amazing to read out loud. Perfect pearl, and immediately, of course, we think of the pearl of great price. We've heard of this already in several of her poems, haven't we? The man, notice we're from him to the man. The man upon the woman, notice it's not me here, it's the woman, binds to clasp her soul. It's this clasping, this decision-making that I'm going to emphasize here. And then, of course, we're back to the soul one more time. For all, and I've said to you guys, and we'll comment on it when we finally get there at poem 772, all is the price of all. I think if you had to reduce everything Emily ever said, you can reduce it to that one line, and I think she would probably say, yep, that's it. All is the price of all. In other words, the willingness to give up everything to get the thing you want. I think this is a poem about commitment. And then, notice from modesty to doubt to now prayer. The religious language of this poem is remarkable. A prayer that is more angel prove, to wider gift within. Now, Emily loves to do this thing where she'll take a noun and turn it into an adjective with this more angel proof. We'll see this again in poem 986, Narrow Fellow. You can go and run that to ground. A whiter gift within, significant because, of course, Emily will wear white for much of her adult life, especially when she seems to make this commitment to write these amazing poems, right? A prayer that is more angel proof. I think the word prove might be the key word of this whole poem. She's proving her worthiness, if you will. Prove a wider gift, notice, within. We go from soul to within. To that munificence that chose. This is, again, about choosing. So unadorned. And then she'll call herself a queen. We've seen this already. We'll see it again. A gratitude to finish. That such be true. And again, this idea of truth is central to her poetry. It had esteemed the dream. Notice dream capitalized. Too beautiful for shape to prove. We're back to this idea of proving. Or posture to redeem. Well, what exactly is it she's arguing in this poem? I think her argument is that generosity is the right kind of response to being chosen, right? That idea of there's some decision that she made and she is going to follow it through. It isn't clear what we're really talking about here, although we do, as we said, that four-part construction of the poem. I can't help but think about this poem, though, and wonder if she had Milton's On His Blindness, the sonnet On His Blindness. We've given full lectures and exegesis on this at learnstrong.net. You guys will remember, right as he was going blind, before he wrote Paradise Lost of 1667. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net over every book of Paradise Lost. He wrote this: when I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve there with my Maker, and present my true account, lest he returning chide, doth God exist, day labor alike denied? I finally ask, but patience to prevent that murmur soon replies, God hath not need either of man's work or his own gifts, who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly. Of course, in this poem, it's queen, right? Thousands at his bidding speed and post o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. For Emily, of course, it's wed, stand and wed. Finally, at 3b, to own a poem like this, how do you read this poem? And what was a time when you felt chosen, and in that regards, you had a sense of gratitude, but commitment as well. Maybe you're reading through all these poems as part of that project. Thank you.